Hey everyone. Today I was going to talk about why INTPs like INFJs. I'm an INTP. I've known a few INFJs. First of all, my dad was an INFJ, and we were really close, so I have that. And yeah, I just really like INFJs. They're one of my favorite types, like a lot of other INTPs I've seen. For some reason, we just really like INFJs. Actually, well, I know the reasons. I'm gonna try to tell you them today. We also tend to like ENFJs a lot, and this has to do with and ESFJs too, but the ENFJ has the intuition as well, so I guess a little more complicated there. But if you're new to this stuff, then it might get a little bit confusing. But ENFJs have, I have TI, since I'm an INTP, I have TI as my dominant function. ENFJs have it as their inferior, their fourth, so least developed. So anyway, and vice versa, their dominant function, FE, extroverted feeling, is my least developed. But it's also kind of like an aspirational function. It's also something that you tend to admire in other people, which is one of the reasons INTPs tend to admire ENFJs, and vice versa, at least in some ways. It tends to be kind of a love-hate thing. You admire things about them, but you're also kind of like want to like shake them sometimes, because when it makes sense, because you're kind of opposites. Just like INFJs may feel that way about ESTPs sometimes, but they also admire things about ESTPs. Like my dad, I had a good friend who was an ESTP, and my dad is an INFJ. He got a real kick out of him, even though he was also kind of a bad friend in a lot of ways. He was just a very charming, laid-back guy, and my dad got a real kick out of him. Anyway, but yeah, so yeah, I'm going to list off a few things, what I think INTPs, the reason why they're so drawn to INFJs specifically. I think it really comes down to the fact that INFJs have TI in their function stack. It's their third function. And I think that's one of the reasons they get along so well, is because INTPs, if you're an INTP watching this, you're probably very aware of the fact that we learn at a very young age that there's not very many people that are interested in things we're talking about, or the things that we're interested in. That's probably a common experience for other introverted intuitive types too. But I think especially for INTPs, that's been my experience, for sure. I mean, I rarely come across, even today, rarely come across people who are interested in things I like to talk about. Even people I know really well. In fact, the last person was my dad, INFJ, which brings me to my first reason. They're very interesting to talk to for an INTP. INFJs I've known, including my father. They're the only people I can literally talk to for hours about a couple different subjects. I don't know what that noise was, but sometimes even one subject you can talk to them for hours, and they're really good listeners. Like they'll listen to you as long as you're in the right mood. Sometimes INFJs can be a little moody, but if they're in the right mood, I mean, they can be really good to talk to, and they're interested in what you have to say a lot of the time for an INTP, which is rare. And so it's always kind of a breath of fresh air when someone's interested in an INTP's interests, what they like to talk about. It's always a cool thing. And INFJs almost always take interest in the things I like to say. So that's one of the reasons I like INFJs, and I think other INTPs would agree. And the thing is about their function stack, I think the reason is why we're interested in those similar things, is because not only we're both intuitives, they have different kind of intuition, but we're still intuitives, both of us. They have the TI and the intuition. So not only is it easier to talk to an intuitive in general, but INFJs also have TI as their third slot. So, and they're feelers, so they're a little more, um, let's be honest, feelers are a little more agreeable. So I find them a little more uh, easy to talk to than thinkers a lot of the time. I mean, thinkers, I mean, it really depends, I guess, but thinkers can be easy to talk to too. But I don't know, I kind of like the warmth of FE, and that actually brings me to my second reason that I think INTPs like INFJs, because of their FE in the second slot. And when your function is in the second slot, it's kind of like a parent function. In fact, some people call it the parent. It's the one you use to help other people and things like that. And so INFJs can actually seem more like ENFJs sometimes. In fact, some INFJs actually think they're ENFJs, or actually INFJs, because they use FE externally. This as their parent function. They use it to help others out and themselves. And so it's out there in the world a lot of the time. That's why INFJs are the most extroverted introvert, or they're called that, because FE is a very people-oriented function. It is the most people-oriented function, and it's also their parent. So it actually makes a lot of sense. But anyway, I remember reading in a book, I think it was A.J. Drenth. He's the creator of Personality Junkie, and he wrote this big book on INTPs that I read. It was actually pretty interesting, pretty enlightening. He was saying that INTPs in particular are especially susceptible to being wooed by feeling types, specifically FE types, which makes a lot of sense. Or the reason is because they go through the back door. They can bypass their TI and go through the back door and appeal directly to their aspirational FE, their inferior, which everyone kind of secretly admires the people who are good at using their inferior. So anyway, that also explains why there tends to be kind of a drawing effect. I don't know if INFJs have the same thing with INTPs. I have noticed INFJs tend to like INTPs. Maybe not as much the other way around. But they do tend to like INTPs too. But anyway, so yeah, I think that's why I like INFJs. I like them. They're good listeners. You can talk to them about almost anything that I'm interested in anyway. They're really kind a lot of the time. I find INFJs more than anyone are the people that'll help you out just to be nice. I mean, they tend to be very sweet people and caring. And another thing, INFJs, they tend to have this sort of vibe that they give off. This stoic almost, like a stoic, calm, distant vibe. Like, and I don't know why distant is cool or appealing, but it just kind of is. It's something about, like, they're just, I don't know, it's hard to explain. But yeah, they tend to have this stoic, this calm vibe to them, and they tend to have very kind eyes too. And just to see, I don't know, it's just there's something about INFJs that INTPs tend to really like, including myself. So anyway, yeah, that pretty much sums it up. Hope you guys took something from this, and have a good day.